Hello, folks. Dustin Zarni here, Commissioner in the car. Today is Tuesday, November 15th, 1 week after the general election. Can you believe it? Only been this is going to be a quick commission. To be quite honest, I'm exhausted. But here's what we got going on at the Board of Elections. Finally today, we started to canvass our affidavit ballots. We had over 1,900 affidavit ballots that were cast in the general election. This is in addition to the over 11,000 absentee ballots. And we are now prepared and ready to scan all of the affidavit ballots that were ruled good, and all of the absentee ballots that are left over from after early voting and through today, and we will be close to the final numbers for SD50, New York 22, and the Onondaga County Sheriff's race. We also have unscanned emergency ballots, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But let's go over the numbers. I printed them up so I can be precise. Right now in Onondaga County, we got 2,254 absentee ballots that are waiting to be scanned tomorrow. 1,109 are Democrat, 520 are Republican, 630 are others, either not in a party or in a minor party. In Senate District 50, which is about half of our county, we have 1,178 absentee ballots. 551 are Democrat, 302 are Republican, and 325 are in either the other parties or non-enrolled. Previously, before Election Day, we scanned 9,364 ballots. Of those 9,364 ballots, 375 of those ballots were unscannable and were not in the election night results. They will be in the results that we release hopefully tomorrow or Thursday. And then, of course, we have 164 absentee ballots still out there waiting cures. That means that there was something wrong with the ballot and we need you to send your cure back. And those could come in. Some of those are too late to come in, but those could come in. And then finally, the affidavit ballots, we spent the last 5 days going through them, ruling on them, sorting them, and in overall, we have 1,913 affidavit ballots. 1,707 are good. That is an amazing good rate. Is near 90% that the affidavit ballots that we issued were good. That is phenomenal. I think that's one of the best we've seen, and we'll find out in a wonky Wednesday later on. And then or weekly wonk. I don't do wonky Wednesdays anymore. I do weekly wonks. And then we in of those 1,707 good affidavits, 748 are Republican, 482 are 748 are Democrat, 482 are Republican, 477 are other, and of course 206 were ruled no good overall. In the 50th Senate, we have 766 good affidavits. 290 are Democrat, 264 are Republican, and 212 are other. And, of course, I talked about the unscanned emergency ballots. So we don't know how many we have of those. We're going to hopefully have a number of that later today, because today we were very busy at the Board of Elections. We had our final canvass of absentee ballots. We had our final canvass of affidavit ballots. And we had our showing of no good ballots, where campaigns can come in and see the ballots that we ruled no good and log objections on. Those objections are the only objections that you can log now. Earlier today, we got a final ruling from Judge Scott Del Conte. You may remember him from New York 22 fame, and now it's New York 22 again, but he was ruling on the lawsuit brought by Rebecca Shuroff and the New York GOP to try to once again delay the delay the absentee ballots and also affidavit ballots, and wanted to log objections on the affidavit ballots. That ruling came down today and basically, once again, threw the lawsuit out of court, that it was too late to bring it this year, and if they wanted to challenge the constitutionality of things, they should do it next year. Or they should have done it earlier this year. So that was a big moment because that just allowed us to move forward. There were a lot of people there, but they were all very well behaved. That no objections were logged on the opening of the good affidavit ballots. A lot of objections were logged, but they were really kind of placeholder objections where they, for the no good affidavits, they wanted to place objections, and then if the race gets close, both parties did this. If the race gets close, they'll go back to those objections and see if they can get a couple of their ballots that they think are good, theirs, good. So, by the court. So that is what is going on. Tomorrow we will start to scan the affidavit and absentee ballots that we opened. The absentee ballots we opened all week long, and the affidavits ballots we opened today. I hope that by tomorrow night at 5 p.m. I'll be reporting results. It may not be until the next day. I also hope that we will be reporting results on a third category of ballots. We had election night ballots and early voting. Those are the in-person ballots. And then we have the paper ballots, the post-election ballots, the absentees, and affidavits. And then there's a last very small category of what's called unscanned emergency ballots. Unscanned emergency ballots are ballots that people go to the polls, and for some reason, either the inspector tore off the ballot and the timing mark was altered, or the printer didn't print it up right. They went ahead and did a ballot, but they put it in the unscanned emergency drawer, and those are going to be hand counted by two of our best at the Board of Elections over the next day. So we hope to have those results as well tomorrow, and then we'll get a kind of a final picture of where the races stand, but it won't be the final, because we can get ballots in if there's so today was the cutoff for most absentee ballots. However, if you had a cure, and some cures are going out tomorrow from ballots received today, if you had a cure, you have another 7 days. So we have another 7 days to receive ballots, that cure ballots, back in the mail. In addition, military and overseas ballots have a little bit longer to come in. We'll see if any do. We've been getting 1 or 2 a day, but there have been regular ballots, maybe 5. We'll see if there's any military or federals over the next, and then those ballots will be added in when we certify right before Thanksgiving. Then the State Board of Elections will decide whether we have to proceed to a hand count. And I don't have an idea of where there's going to be a hand count, but SD50 is very close, and CD 22 is also very close, and could not. SD50 right now is in the hand count ratio, and it may go into the it may stay into the hand count ratio, and CD 22 may go into the hand count ratio, and the sheriff's race is still technically close too. So we'll see what happens there. When we get those numbers, we'll be able to finally decide who won. So David put in the chat, do I have any response to Bob Lonsberry's recent commentary about the OCBOE? I have no idea what he said. So no response. I've been busy. I don't know what he said. Maybe he said something good. I'm going to hope he said something good. But we really worked very hard this last week to get everything done, and I think we did. And we're in a really good position going forward. So I'm hopeful that later this later tomorrow or Thursday, all but a few handful of ballots will be counted, and we will be able to really kind of determine where things stand. I know Oswego's working hard, Madison's working hard, Oneida's working hard. We're going to try to get these races over with. I also kind of want to have a commentary about concessions. I did a little rant this morning, and that's because I've seen several people trying to tell people to concede. Republicans are trying to tell Francis Cannot to concede. Democrats are trying to tell Esteban Gonzalez to concede. And both Democrats and Republicans are telling Mannion and Sheriff to concede. When races are this close, where they're less than 1% separating the candidates, and possibly close to the absentee or close to the hand count margin, concessions really mean nothing legally. And I don't think people really understand that. And I have a different concept on this in this age of election denial. While I would love people to respect elections, to respect finality of elections, I do believe that while the votes are being counted, it is rightful not to concede if you're within, this small margin. And even if you aren't, if you don't want to concede, that's fine, because it doesn't matter. Boards of elections are going to certify the winner no matter what somebody says or concedes or claims victory or any of that. But my nuance on this is that I really believe that we should get away from candidate concessions controlling the narrative on elections. The narrative on elections should be the results of the elections and the results of the votes and the work that the boards of elections do. That should be what the media focuses on. That should be what the parties focus on. When the votes come in, that's what speaks. You don't control the election process by by declaring victory or conceding. The election process is controlled by the voters and the votes that they make, and the Board of Elections are charged with counting those voters and making a determination of a winner. And anything else is, circus act. And in a functioning democracy, we should be willing to wait for hand counts if it's a close race. We should be willing to wait for the absentee ballot and affidavit ballots to be counted if it's a close race. These things are going on right now. It's only been a week. And by Thanksgiving, we should have some idea of exactly where we're going forward, and hopefully later this week. So that's my rant again, not in tweet form this time. This week I'm going to do a special SCOTUS edition of Zoom with Zarni with my good friend Tom Keck, SU professor. We're going to be releasing that on Thursday, and then on this weekend I hope to start doing my look back at the general election, starting with early voting, on my weekly wonk series. I kind of took last week off. I'm going to try to get back into it and start working on the content again. Thank you very much for your support this election year. It's been a hard election year. We got a couple of hard weeks to go, a great staff to get it done, and I'm hopeful that everything will be finalized, and that we can, even if we have to go on to a hand count, can do it in an orderly fashion and determine the true winners of those 3 close races in Onondaga County. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.